Well, greetings, everyone. My name is Jay, and welcome to the first episode of Rewind. So, here on Rewind, we will take a look at movies that had opened in theaters 10 plus years ago. I will review the plot, discuss what things about the movie worked and didn't work, and then at the end, I will give a grade. And then just keep in mind, it's movies, it's all subjective. So, my opinion could be the same as yours, or it could vary slightly, or it could be completely different. Movies are subjective, so I think that's what makes movies, great, because we can have that healthy conversation over what we agree with, what we disagree with. So, let's dive into it now. So, when talking about movies that opened 10 plus years ago, there's a wide variety of movies they could pick from. So, what is a good starting point for me? So, I decided to start with the close to arguably the best decade in recent memory, 1999. So, back in 99, Napster was a thing. The U.S. women won the FIFA World Cup, the FIFA Women's World Cup. The World Wrestling Federation, now the WWE, they were on fire with their product, with the Attitude Era that was happening back then. And then, of course, this movie opened. So today, we're going to take a look at Varsity Blues, which is a sports comedy drama film that was directed by Brian Robbins. The movie was distributed by Paramount Pictures, and it opened back on January 15th, 1999. It stars James Vanderbeek, John Voight, Paul Walker, Amy Smart, and Scott Kahn. The movie had a budget of about $16 million, and it had a worldwide gross of about $55 million. Just keep in mind, this is 1999 we're talking about, so things back then were cheaper compared to today. So, the movie takes place in a fictional town called West Canaan, Texas, and follows four best friends: Jonathan Moxon, who goes by Mox, Lance Harbor, Charlie Tweeter, and Billy Bob, as they grew up from the early childhood years to their high school years. From playing Pee Wee football at a young age, they ultimately played together for the same high school team, the West Canaan Coyotes. The team is coached by Bud Kilmer. Fans of the team and those that played for him in previous years look up to him. However, he gives off the feeling of being, authoritative, abusive, and a win at all costs, no matter what mentality. Lance and Mox are both quarterbacks for the team, but Lance is the starting quarterback for the team, while Mox is the backup quarterback. Bud Kilmer loves Lance as his starting quarterback, but he does consistently clash with backup quarterback John Moxon, or Mox as he likes to be called. During a home game, the offensive lineman, Billy Bob, takes a big hit and lands hard on his head, which leads to a concussion. After the game, Mox oversees Lance receiving some kind of injection to his knee. In the room with Lance are the trainers, along with Bud Kilmer. So keep these two things in mind, because they will be a factor in what will happen later on in the next game and in the movie moving forward as well. So there are scenes where they are being teenagers, getting into trouble, throwing parties, and of course, Lance is having a makeout session in the laundry room with his girlfriend, Darcy Sears, who's played by Ollie Lauder, who actually grew up not too far from me in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. But of course, they're enjoying the quality time alone together in the laundry room. That was until Billy Bob, with probably one of the most humorous and comical moments in the movie, Billy Bob decides to burst into the laundry room because he drank too much and we're about to see his lunch. So he interrupts the little quality time that Lance and Darcy are having, and he just unloads inside the washing machine right next to them. which was pretty funny. In school, Billy Bob is having trouble focusing, and during class, he passes out. In the nurse's office, Billy Bob is resting when he's visited by Bud Kilmer. Billy Bob tells Bud Kilmer that the nurse informed him that he should not be playing due to the head injury. Bud Kilmer using his words to persuade and make himself superior, and showing that win at all costs attitude. Asks Billy Bob if he's ready to play, if he's ready to go, to which Billy Bob says yes. During the next game, the Coyotes' offense is on the field, and right before the ball could be snapped, Billy Bob gets lightheaded and passes out. Once the ball is snapped, defensive players from the opposite team now rush the hole that was left behind by Billy Bob and deliver a vicious shot to quarterback Lance Harbaugh, which leaves Lance agonizing in pain and clutching his knee. And the stadium unfortunately falls silent. Bud Kilmer looks like he's seen a ghost. He's helped out the field, and Mox is now told he's going into the game. Mox does ultimately lead the team to victory after running a play that Bud Kilmer did not call, which further continues the bickering between the two. At the hospital, Lance's girlfriend, his family, including his sister Julie, who's Mox's girlfriend, Mox and Bud Kilmer are waiting for word on Lance's surgery. The doctor informs them that Lance's recovery period is about a year and a half, which will put his scholarship to Florida State in serious jeopardy. The doctor does also inform them that he, quote, removed a hell of a lot of scar tissue from that boy's knee and that he should not have been playing. To which Bud Kilmer replied, he didn't say anything to me. So while Mox gets ready to head home, Darcy catches up with him, needing a ride to a party. While Mox is driving, Darcy begins changing out of her cheerleading uniform and into a dress for the party. And she tells Mox, quote, you're the starting quarterback now. So I wonder what that's going to lead between the two. Meanwhile, Mox is trying to adjust to life as the new starting quarterback for the West Canaan Coyotes. He is leading the team to victory after victory, and in most cases by calling plays outside of what Bud Kilmer wants. One of his teachers, Miss Davis, stops him in the parking lot to congratulate him on a good game. Mox, looking confused, has an interesting quote. He says, quote, that is a nice car for a teacher's salary, end quote. Remember this because the mystery of how she's able to afford a convertible on a teacher's salary will be answered soon. However, it does not end there as Darcy invites Mox over to her place later in the evening. I wonder what she has in mind. Later that night, Mox goes to see Darcy, and Darcy tells him to wait while she makes a couple of sundaes for both of them. So after a couple minutes, arguably one of the most jaw-dropping scenes in the movie, as Darcy comes out wearing a whipped cream bikini. She tries making out with Mox, but Mox rebuffs her gently. Darcy reveals that she wants out of West Canaan and the state of Texas. Her initial plans were to be on that ride with Lance, but due to Lance's injury, she's looking for a new way out, and she was hoping Mox would be her ticket out of town. But Mox rebuffs, tells her that she can leave the town and the state independently. The next day in school, Mox is organizing a drinking party at a local strip club, the Landing Strip. Darcy spots Mox in the hallway and thanks him for being so supportive and plants a kiss on him. However, Julie sees this and dismisses Mox and goes straight to class when Mox tries to explain what happened. Mox even tries to visit Julie at her job, but still upset, thinking Mox is letting the fame get to his head, even brought up the fact that her brother Lance and Darcy initially got together for Darcy doing the same exact thing, revealing a whipped cream bikini in front of Lance. Meanwhile, everyone is at the landing strip drinking and having a good time. The star running back for the West Canaan Coyotes, Wendell Brown, he hesitates, saying that they have an important game tomorrow night. Plus, on top of that, he doesn't drink. But Mox rebuts, saying that they need to let loose, and he is going to drink tonight. The drinking party continues, and one performer is putting on a show dressed as a teacher. While performing, the dancer turns around, and it is revealed that it is Miss Davis. Miss Davis, who is the teacher, is also a dancer. And that answers the question of how she's able to afford a convertible on a teacher's salary. The team is in shock and laughing at the situation, and Miss Davis continues to perform. She later hangs out with the team and shares a drink with them. Then they all are shown slowly walking out of the club, and it's daylight, and their speech is slurred. They're having a little trouble walking. Eventually, they realize, oh crap, we have a football game tonight. So, to no surprise, the team is playing terribly, and they are still hungover. And Bud Kilmer is absolutely livid. Their dream of a perfect season, an undefeated season, goes up in flames, and the team loses the game. Bud Kilmer rips into the team in the locker room and even throws Billy Bob out of the locker room after he cries and has a mental breakdown. He also accused Billy Bob of being the reason why his star quarterback, Lance, is injured. Meanwhile, at Mox's home, Bacon, who's Billy Bob's pet pig, is brought into the house by Mox's younger brother, Kyle. Mox, looking confused, is told by Kyle that Billy Bob said that he knows how to take care of Bacon. Becoming concerned something might happen, Mox runs out of the house in search of Billy Bob. Mox does find Billy Bob in the back of his truck drinking and shooting at his football trophy collection. After a bunch of tears and yelling, Mox convinces Billy Bob not to let Bud Kilmer get to him. Meanwhile, back in school, Billy Bob reveals that he, quote, got his cat scanned and the doctor said he could play. Obviously means he got a cat scan, not got a cat scanned. It's also revealed that the team will not say a word about what Miss Davis does outside of her teaching career. Later in the day, after football practice, Bud Kilmer pulls Mox to the side to have a private conversation, revealing to Mox that he found out about Mox's scholarship to Brown University, and that if he did not obey him, he would screw up his transcripts, which would eliminate his scholarship. Mox then turns to Julie for advice, as they seem to have patched things up, and Julie gives him a speech on being a hero. It is now game day, so the team gets ready in the locker room, and Bud Kilmer proclaims, quote, this game is 48 minutes for the next 48 years of your life, end quote. The team takes the field, and the game is underway. The opposing team takes the lead, and the dance moves they bust out after each touchdown are pretty comical. These touchdown dances obviously will get flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct in real life, in high school, and at the college level. NFL level, maybe. Prior to the game, Wendell reveals to Mox, that he has the most rushing yards, but only 3 touchdowns because he broke over 20-plus yards each time. And that every time on a short yardage situation, he gives the ball to someone else. So, on a short yardage situation, Mox changes the play, gives the ball to Wendell, allowing him to score. And Bud Kilmer looks irate, even saying, quote, keep it up, asshole, end quote. On a separate play, Wendell injures his leg, and the game enters halftime. Meanwhile, in the locker room, Mox enters the training room, sees what the trainers are about to do, and stops them from giving Wendell an injection to his injured leg. Lance also tells Wendell not to do it. After a lot of arguing, Mox tells Bud Kilmer that at this point, quote, the only way we're going back onto the field is without you, end quote. And Bud Kilmer loses it. He snaps and he chases down Mox, grabs him and chokes him and yells at him until teammates rush and pull Kilmer off of Mox. At that point, Bud Kilmer tells the team to grab their helmets and head for the field, but no one listens. Realizing he's now powerless because the team stood up to him and won't take it anymore, he begs the team to follow him. But after he leaves the locker room, the team does not follow him. Slowly, Kilmer heads for his office. Meanwhile, in the locker room, Mox proclaims, quote, "Let's play the next 24 minutes for the next 24 minutes and leave it all out on the field," end quote. The team rallies behind Mox and Lance will now be the one calling the plays for the team. Using a 5 wide receiver format along with trick plays, the West Canyon Coyotes come from behind to win the game and win the district championship for the 23rd straight time. During the game, there is actually one more shot of Bud Kilmer as he's cleaning out his office. He sees a trophy case which shows in a past season, I believe it was 1989, that he won Coach of the Year, and he hangs his head in shame. After the game, there is a celebration taking place on the field and in the stands, and there's also a voiceover. Mox is proclaiming, "Tweeter drinks beers because Tweeter drinks beer." Billy Bob was crying. Lance became a successful football coach, and Wendell got a scholarship to Grambling University, and that Bud Kilmer left town and never coached again. However, the statue still remains standing because it was too heavy to move. And that finally, Mox even stated that he has attended Brown University and will be graduating. And at that point, the movie fades to black, credits roll. So what I like about Varsity Blues is that you feel like you're on this life adventure with these characters. There's a sense of being there with them in Texas, enjoying high school life and football and everything there was to do, for being a teenager at that time. Plus, notice there were no smartphones. So obviously, different time, you had things to do. You found things to do as well. The last scene of the movie that featured Bud Kilmer, I thought was powerful. He was an individual who thought he was, untouchable, and he could do whatever he wanted until the team ultimately turned on him. As he's cleaning out his office, he comes across, the trophy that I mentioned, which said he was the Coach of the Year, and he hangs his head in shame. I think that moment symbolized him thinking, what have I become? And symbolizing his, fall from grace. It seemed like his career took off at that moment, and he was having success after success. And then at somewhere along the line, he felt as though he doesn't have to play by the rules. Win at all costs. I'm untouchable. So that's what I felt like from, that moment. And to me, the meaning is that no one is, above life, so to speak. The movie featured a solid soundtrack, from Nice Guys Finish Last, performed by Green Day, to My Hero from the Foo Fighters. The movie also had the right amount of humor, which enough, dramatic moments. Charlie Tweeter was, the class clown, but was serious when it was time to get serious, Of all the characters, the one character that drew my attention the most, from an emotional standpoint, was Billy Bob. He worked hard, wanted to make his coach proud of him, but then was shamed unfairly by the coach when Lance went down with the knee injury, and on top of that, the concussion he suffered. Bud Kilmer is painted as an antagonist, but one character I thought was close to being in that position was Mox's father. He was pushing him hard to make his family proud, regardless of Bud Kilmer's character, even though he went through it himself as a player under Bud Kilmer. He obviously was nowhere near the same level as Bud Kilmer, but he really wasn't too protective of his son. Me being from, the Philadelphia area, this movie also had a symbolic moment of seeing the shadows, on the grass as they're walking together, both in the beginning of the movie and at the end. It was during one of the championship seasons from the Philadelphia Flyers. The players were walking into the locker room, and they found a message in their locker room which read, "Win today and walk together forever." So I thought that was pretty powerful. I mean, I played football in high school, so I get the relation between, the game of football and learning about life. So the movie shows the importance of life and having, that important support system right there with you. Now, in the game, you obviously see like a lot of vicious hits and a lot of illegal stuff. Obviously, the game of football is not like that today. I mean, I played football from 98 to 2000, maybe 2001. And yes, there was knowledge of concussions, and, it was handled and dealt with. But obviously, like, there is more emphasis, there's more knowledge behind concussions today than there were 20 plus years ago. So overall, the game is safer. I mean, is it perfect? Of course not. The game is still evolving. As far as after the movie released in theaters, it was very hard, in regards to some of the cast. After doing some research on some of the cast, like I was aware of what happened to some of the cast, but not all of them. So yeah, it's hard as far as where their past took them after Varsity Blues was released. James Vanderbeek would go on to star in Texas Rangers, The Rules of Attraction, CSI Cyber, and Downsizing, just to name a few. In 2024, though, James Wood revealed that he was battling cancer and that he was auctioning off items from both Dawson's Creek and Varsity Blues to help with medical costs. John Voight, meanwhile, he would go on to star in numerous movies such as Lara Croft Tomb Raider, Pearl Harbor, both National Treasure movies, Glory Road, and Transformers, just to name a few. And then Paul Walker, he would definitely go on to make a big name for himself in the Fast and the Furious franchise. The movie Fury 7 was in the middle of production when he unfortunately passed away in 2013. Ron Lester, the man who played Billy Bob, would go on to star in Not Another Teen Movie and The Greenskeeper. He unfortunately passed away in 2016 due to health issues. Scott Conn, the person that played Charlie Tweeter, he would end up starring in Oceans 11, 12, and 13, Gone in 60 Seconds, and the rebooted TV series Hawaii Five-0. Meanwhile, Amy Smart would star in The Butterfly Effect, Win a Date with Tad Hamilton, Crank, and Crank High Voltage, obviously just to name a few. Also, after Varsity Blues, Ollie Lauder would appear in Final Destination, Legally Blonde, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and she would go on to become known as Claire Redfield in the Resident Evil franchise. Joe Fetchler, sorry if I mispronounced that, the actor who played Kyle, who was, the younger brother of Mox. He would get involved in 5 or 6 more projects, and in 2006, he mysteriously vanished. He was reported missing. Police looked into it, and no one knows exactly what happened. Doing some research, as of right now, he's listed as, quote, missing / presumed dead. And it's just terrible and heartbreaking to see what happened to some of these individuals. To the actors that we lost, hopefully they rest in peace. And then for the individual Joe, hopefully answers are found soon so the family can have some type of closure. My grade for Varsity Blues is a B+. This has definitely become, a cult classic. the movie seemed silly and ridiculous when it was first released, but it just seems to have gotten better over the years. You know, the old saying how wine gets better throughout the years. I mean, when it comes to like the silliness and the ridiculousness and how it becomes a cult classic and it has its followers and people love the movie. I think over the years you saw it start to shift a little bit. You know, the opinion of those for the movie, and that's why I think it's earned its place as a quote a a cult classic, so to speak. You know, so that's my review on Varsity Blues. So I would love to hear, your opinion on this movie. Do you agree with the things I have to say? Do you disagree? Do you have additional viewpoints as well? I would love to read your comments. So be sure to leave a comment down below. On the next episode of Rewind, we are going to stay in 1999 and look at another classic, a fan favorite that actually landed a couple of Oscar awards. So join me next time as we enter The Matrix. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you, and take care.